Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR, and we got a lot to talk about going on in the Big Ten. It is Big Ten After Dark. That's right. The basketball is done for the night, Sunday night, and we are going to be talking about it. Solo tonight, just me, JR, with you. So if you're in the chat, please do feel free. Chat along. I'll have that pulled up and get to what you guys are talking about, what you guys are saying, everything like that. This one is going live only on the basketball channel. So we are going to start doing that. We're going to tell people on the football shows that if you want to listen to the basketball content, got to be over on the basketball channel. We got Philip here, says ILL. I'll finish that there for you, Philip. INI. There you go. And you should be very excited tonight. All Illini fans, all Illinois fans should be very, very excited tonight. Michigan is, I'll keep it PG, crap again. Yeah, and John's very excited. IU going dancing. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about Saturday night or Saturday games as well. Indiana was Saturday night. I didn't get to watch those as intently as I did the games today. I was on a work conference this weekend, but I did get back in time to see at least the Indiana Washington game. So we can talk about the other games and stuff like that as well. Appreciate everybody being here, whether you're in the comments and chat like Philip and John, or you're just here watching. I appreciate it. Gonna have a hard out at 9 o'clock because I do have the football show with Zach then, but I figured since it's a solo show, I've cursed myself by doing this before, but I will do my best this time. I'm gonna try to keep it under 45 minutes. I mean I have to keep it under 45 minutes because me and Zach have a have a football show to do tonight, which you can also listen to over on the football channel. So let's get into here. Let's see what John has to say really fast. He says gotta be either Ohio State or Oregon, and we're 100% confirmed going dancing in March. So pumped to see how they've responded. Yeah, I ever since that show with Jason, I didn't say it on the show, but the Big Ten bracketology show we did, which I don't know. Do you guys want me to do another one like that tomorrow night with Jason? I think I'll reach out to him and see if he wants to do one before the Northwestern UCLA game. We'll see. But yeah, I've been thinking pretty much this entire week, if it's not, it's going to be one of those three teams or two of those three teams: Indiana, Nebraska, Ohio State. Two of those three teams are going to get in, and one of them's going to get left out. Right now, Nebraska looks like they're not in a good situation. Obviously, losing that game to Penn State, or yeah, losing that game to Penn State. They're not in a good situation. Indiana getting the win against Washington. That was exactly what you needed to do. Of course, Ohio State does have two more games left, though. So Ohio State could be the team that, falls apart. And those next two games for Ohio State, Nebraska and Indiana. So there's plenty of chances here for Nebraska and Indiana to solidify their hopes. I think the worst possible case scenario, I'm not just saying this as an Ohio State fan, I think the worst possible case scenario is probably that Nebraska beats Ohio State, because I do think that Nebraska might have the worst chances right now after that loss to Penn State, but we're going to need to see how some other stuff goes as well. Minnesota. Thank you, John. Minnesota at home. Yeah. Minnesota. Which, geez, Minnesota, they are they are just that team that seems to it was Indiana that played Penn State, that's right. They are just that team that seems to not be able to beat teams that they should beat, but they can beat any team that they're not supposed to beat, especially on the road. Yeah, like John says, at home. So all right, let's talk some Illinois. Philip says Illinois is the fourth team in AP poll history, 1950, to win two ranked games by 20 plus on the road. That is pretty incredible, because the Illinois Fighting Illini defeat Michigan 93-73. And I'm going to be honest, I did not see a 20-point win for Illinois. I was texting with Sonny and with Kent before this game was over, actually with like 7.5 minutes left, and I was kidding with Sonny. Kent was saying, "Oh, it looks like Illinois is going to win this one," and I said, "Not if Illinois doesn't score a single point in the last 7.5 minutes," i.e. Michigan State. But they didn't do that, so don't have to worry about that. They didn't do that. So Illinois really in the last 7.5 minutes just kind of goes crazy in this one. In the first half, Illinois was not very effective, shooting 21% from three, 12 of 37 from the field. Now Michigan wasn't much better. They were 13 of 29 from the field. They were 2 of 7 from three. So I mean, neither team was shooting all that well, but it was pretty interesting because it was such a fast-paced game. They still both had 31 to 30. They both had 30 points or more. But it was really in that second half and really in the last 7.5 minutes when Illinois just started exploding. I mean, really probably the last 10 minutes where Illinois just started exploding and going crazy in that one. In the second half alone, Trey White had 15 points. Kasparis Jaconis had 14 points. Kylan Boswell was another top performer for Illinois. He had 13 points in the first half. I mean, so really you were getting major contributions. And I listened to Brad Underwood. He was talking about, the spacing on the court. I don't know if he was talking specifically about Kylan Boswell. It was kind of after a question about Kylan, and he was talking about the spacing on the court was helping Kylan Boswell score more, and it was helping him in the second half more, but really in the first half was really when he did most of his damage. He didn't need the spacing that Illinois was giving him as much in the first half. They weren't hitting those shots, and Michigan wasn't respecting it as much, but Illinois finishes this game with 14 three-pointers, 11 of them coming in the second half, and that was really when I thought you started to see more of the spacing that really allowed Illinois to get into the middle of the court and do a lot of the damage in the 2-point game. Now, it was interesting to see that happen because you think a team with Vlad Golden being able to be down low and protecting the rim that way, but it really was the spacing. The spacing was keeping Vlad out of his position, so he wasn't able to roam the paint, and he wasn't able to contest as many shots as well as he normally would have. The smaller lineup for Illinois, bringing Ben Hummerkaus in over Tomislav Ivicic, that was proving to be very effective as well. I mean, it was incredible what Illinois did, and I really feel like this is prime version of Illinois, what we saw tonight. I've kind of said it a few other times. I've said if Will Riley gets going, if this happens, no, this was prime version of Illinois, what we saw tonight. Illinois in this game had 19 offensive rebounds, and they had 14 three-pointers. Shot, 38% from the field. If you're going to get an Illinois team that is shooting nearly 40% or 38% from three, if you're going to get an Illinois team that is getting nearly 20 offensive rebounds, shooting nearly 40% from three, this is the type of Illinois team you're going to get, scoring 93 points against one of the best teams in the nation. And for Michigan fans, I know they're kind of down right now, saying oh, our defense stinks, oh, this stinks. Listen, Michigan fans, you guys hung with them in the first half. You need to fix your three-point shooting. You fix your three-point shooting, and a lot of things are going to fall into place here because you look at what Illinois had when they didn't have their three-point shooting. They didn't have the spacing. They didn't have the room to operate down in the paint in the two-point area. That's kind of the same thing you're getting with this Michigan team right now. Now, you still scored 73 points, right? So you're still going to score, but with you not being able to hit that three-point shooting, it's not going to go as well for you. And Danny Wolf, he got shut down by Kylan Boswell. Danny Wolf, 7-footer, got shut down by Kylan Boswell. He's what, 6'3", 6'4", I don't know, 6'2", maybe. He's below 6'5". I know that. But he shut him down this game, and it really leaves me concerned about Michigan in the tournament, because if Danny Wolf is not going to utilize his size, then what's the point of having two 7-footers on the floor, right? I mean, that's kind of the most intimidating thing about Michigan, right now, is that, you have two 7-footers on the floor. How are we going to battle with that? How are we going to go against that? Well, Michigan only had 32 rebounds in this game, and you had two 7-footers on your team. Now, Danny Wolf only played 25 minutes. Vlad Golden played 30 minutes. I did kind of feel bad for Vlad Golden. It was a senior night, and they made a big story about him. But also, they talked so much about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to hear about this anymore. So it was nothing personal against Vlad Golden. I was just like, okay, we've heard the story of the mom and the girlfriend. We've heard it. Okay, let's move on. Maybe it's just me, but I was like, we've heard it. Okay, move on. Anyway, but I really accredit most of this, performance more to Illinois than anything else. I mean, this was just prime Illinois. If you are going to, we talked about how Illinois could be a dangerous team in the tournament. This is the dangerous team. That team we saw against Duke, not a dangerous team. That team we saw in New York, nope, that team maybe 1 or 2 wins in the tournament. Maybe that. This team that we saw against Michigan, this Illinois team, Ben Hummerkaus being able to come in, play the five, play excellent defense. I mean, Ben Hummerkaus didn't have any crazy stats in this game. He had 9 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, two fouls. Like, he didn't have anything crazy in this game, but I felt like he was one of the most important guys in this game because of what he was able to do with his spacing. He was 3 for 8 in this game, nearly 50% shooting from three. And so his spacing was huge. And then on top of that, he was playing great defense on the other end in the 5 spot, just denying Vlad, making things difficult for Vlad as much as he possibly could. Not outright denying him, right? But making Vlad work for everything that he did on the offensive end because on the defensive end, there was no time to rest because in addition to that, he's also running around the court everywhere trying to guard Ben on the perimeter and also trying to get down low. I mean, there was no option there with the spacing that they had. And Philip's right, 9th consecutive win over Michigan for Illinois. Oh, I looked up the date. Let me find it. Yes, so Michigan, for Michigan, the loss highlighted ongoing, sorry, that's not right there. Okay, Michigan hasn't beaten Illinois since January 10th, 2019. Wow. That is actually insane. And there's a number of teams that it was like this with Illinois, right? I mean, Wisconsin, we heard about that for so long. They finally get their win over Illinois, but man, January 10th, 2019, I think it was Tom Fernelli on Twitter that said, like, we didn't even know what COVID was back then, which is just absolutely insane that Illinois has been able to do that. Now, Michigan, not exactly, been spectacular lately because they had Juwan Howard, but even still, like, this was back in the very beginning of 2019, so, pre-COVID. So for Illinois to go this long, be doing this well, just fantastic. All right, guys, I was reading more of my notes, so let me get back to the chat a little bit. Okay, Philip says 6'2", locked up. 6'2", Colin Boswell locked up. 7 foot. 7 foot Danny Wolf. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Philip says peak doesn't happen until Morez returns. I was thinking about that after the game. How does this team look with Morez back? Because I do like this team with Morez back, but this team also has less spacing with Morez back. And I did feel like this team operated better in the 2-point area with more of that spacing. So don't get me wrong, I really, really like Morez. But for me, Morez is the safety net, right? Like, if you're not shooting well, if you don't have that spacing all game, then you have Morez to put in there to go up there, get rebounds, which if you're not aware, Morez Johnson can possibly, even though he broke his wrist, he can possibly come back in the Big Ten tournament. That's what Brad Underwood said. We'll see if that happens, but that's what he said is a possibility right now. I listened to Brad Underwood's, I listened to probably 3/4 of his post-game interview, post-game press conference, and he didn't mention anything about Morez, so not sure when he'll be back, but it is a possibility that he'll be back. So we'll see. And Randy, you are exactly right. Illinois played a great defensive game today. And if you're looking at the box score, and you see 73 points, or I guess you're just looking at the scoreboard and you see 73 points, you're like, oh, was it really all that great of a defensive game? Yes, it was. Because in this game, Michigan, they shot 22% from three. Now, they did shoot 46% from the field, so they were getting some shots down low, but most of that was the work of Vlad Golden. I mean, Trey Donaldson, 4 for 12 in this game overall. Roddy Gale, 2 for 7. And I got to tell you, like, I had a hard time with Roddy Gale when he played at Ohio State. Don't get me wrong. But, man, some of these Michigan fans, you guys hate Roddy Gale, man. I mean, yeesh. Sometimes I'm watching, you guys on Twitter, and you guys really got some clips of him. You're right, John. He's not great. He is bad. I get it. And I had my frustrations with him when he played for Ohio State. But, geez, some of the things I'm seeing people say and seeing people tweet about, I'm like, oh my gosh, Dusty, get him out. For his own safety against the mob. Not his own safety. They're not saying anything. At least I didn't see anything crazy like that. But it's just like, yeah. So, I mean, Roddy Gale, he's going to provide good defense for you. That's kind of what he can do. I shouldn't say he's going to. He doesn't always. In this game, I don't think he had any, super spectacular defense that stuck out to me. But at the same time, like, this is a Michigan team right now that is completely reliant on Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf. This is a team where Namari Burnett, he's not much more than a 3-point shooter. Play good defense at times. He does get you some rebounds. He had 4 rebounds, or no, apologize. Roddy Gale had 4 rebounds. Namari Burnett did have 2 rebounds in this game, but still, like, that's not enough. You're playing nearly 30 minutes in a game and you only have 2 rebounds when your 5-man is only getting 7 rebounds. That's the biggest story here is your 2 7-footers for Michigan, Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden, combined for 12 rebounds in this game. 12 rebounds. Trey White had about as many as that. Trey White had 11 rebounds. So for Danny Wolf, Vlad Golden to only be getting 12 rebounds, I don't know what Dusty May has to do. I don't know if he just needs to go into practice, start whipping him into shape. I have no idea. I mean, obviously there's some schematic things here too. I think I counted it up. I can't do math here on the air right now, but Illinois' guards had something like 24 rebounds or something like that. Big part of that was Kylan Boswell with 11. Or with 9, Trey White with 11. So that was a big part of that. But still, like, that's pretty insane. Thomas Lavisic with only 3 rebounds, but he didn't have to, right? This wasn't a situation where, like, they were getting out rebounded. It's just Kylan Boswell, Trey White, Kasparis Jaconis, he had 6. Ben Hummerkaus had 5. I know he was playing the 5 in this game, so that makes sense. But still, like, he's not a 7-footer, and they're in there getting these rebounds, doing an excellent job. The rebounding was a huge story in this game. To me, that's the 2 of the biggest stories in this one was the rebounding for Illinois, what they were able to do, not just overall, but on the offensive glass as well. And then for Michigan, the 3-point shooting. 4 of 18 3-point shooting. You saw Michigan going through a lot of the same struggles there that Illinois fans have felt. Once they start going in, it's going to feel much better, but they got to start going in. You're going to have to start scheming that stuff up a little bit better. Yeah, John says he made 1 3 in his last 15 to 20 attempts. Yeah, Roddy Gale. I think he made that 3 in this game too. Yeah, Roddy Gale, you got to put the no shoot. You got to put the no shoot tag on him. Just stop shooting. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on Illinois and Michigan. I think Michigan can respond. I mean, obviously, this team that they've been in close games all season. They can obviously respond. They haven't been blown out like this. I don't think they have been blown out like this at all this season because they lost to Oklahoma by not very much. They lost to Wake Forest by not much. Oh, just give me the football schedule. Hold on, guys. This is where a co-host comes in handy because I can just tell him to talk, and then I can look up whatever I wanted to look up. All right. Michigan basketball schedule. Yeah, they lost to Wake Forest by 2. They lost to Arkansas by 2. They lost to Oklahoma by 1. They lost to Minnesota by 3. And then they did get blown out by Purdue. Okay, my apologies. 91-64. But they came back and beat Purdue later on there. So it felt like that was some vindication. And then Michigan State by 13. But that was also Michigan State pulling ahead late in that game. I double-digit win for them, but I wouldn't categorize it as, some huge blowout, terrible game by Michigan. That was just Michigan State doing what Michigan State has done lately, which is, win games close. So, but you kind of felt this, right? You saw the gritty, grinded-out game against Nebraska, which you gave Michigan credit for. You're kind of like, oh, okay, you got the credit for that. You did a good job. Gritty, grinded-out game. It wasn't pretty shooting. You didn't do a good job. Overall, from an offensive standpoint, but you gutted it out and you won on the road. Cool. Then you have Rutgers, and Namari Burnett gets the game-winning 3-pointer in that game. And for the most part, I mean, Rutgers was just playing with so much confidence, and that was one of my things with Michigan. They never really made Rutgers unconfident. It was very strange. I think part of that was Steve Pikiell's coaching. I think Steve Pikiell did a very good job in that game. That he drew up some good defensive schemes for Rutgers in that one. But for the most part, Rutgers never really lost their confidence until, maybe a little bit later in that game, and they played very confident the entire game. Michigan against Illinois, they just got popped in the mouth there the last 10 minutes of that game, where Illinois just said, yeah, everything we've been doing this entire season, trying to play as, we're going to start doing it now. And you're not going to stop it. And I don't know. There's not many teams in the nation that could stop Illinois at their best this season. So congrats to you, Illinois fans. You should be very excited after this one. Michigan fans, a little concerned. You're not going to win the Big Ten probably after this. You could get a share of it, maybe, if Michigan State falls elsewhere. But still, from 8 wins last year to this, you're fine. You got Dusty May. As long as Dusty May stays, which he will, I think, you're going to be fine. So we'll see. All right. Derby says, is Michigan a fake? I don't think so. I don't think you win that many close games and you're fake, right? Now, did they blow out enough teams and, destroy enough teams? No. They didn't go out there to be like this dominant team that's just blowing everybody out. Really, their last blowout win was against Washington, 91-75, and they also beat UCLA. I mean, there's 2 teams this season that went on the LA road stretch and won both games. It's Michigan and Minnesota. Minnesota, yeah, I like Minnesota, but unfortunately they are kind of fake in some ways because they are not consistent enough to win the games they are supposed to win, but they also are so good they can beat the teams that they're not supposed to beat, which is just crazy to think about. On the flip side, you have Michigan who, I mean, like I said, they've lost some games this season. They got blown out by Purdue. They lost by double digits to Michigan State, but they were still in that one for most of the game. I think we'll see if they're fake in these next 2 games. All right. I don't think they are, but I think that how they respond against Maryland and how they respond against Michigan State are going to be huge for them. These are the 2 of the 3 or 4 best teams in the Big Ten right now. Your 4 best teams in no particular order are Michigan, Michigan State, Maryland, and Wisconsin right now in the Big Ten. How you respond to 2 of the 4 best teams, I mean, really, yeah, 2 of the 4 best teams is going to determine everything in my mind. So we'll see. We'll see. Are you fake? Are you not fake, Michigan? Dusty May, your time to shine. Make us believe it or not. Philip says they're fake. Or I shouldn't say fake. He says paper tiger. Oh, man. All right. Okay. Let's talk Michigan State now. All right. Michigan State defeats Wisconsin 71-62 in this game. Let me bring my notes over. All right, so Michigan State wins this one 71-62. Jaden Akins was huge in this one, especially at the beginning of the game. He went on that hot 3-point shooting streak where he shot 2 or 3 straight in a row, and then he kind of had a heat check where he shot a 4th one or a 3rd one of those 2, and he missed it. He got his own rebound right away, shot the next jumper, and it went in. So, I mean, like, Jaden Akins was just on it this game. Jackson Kohler to me, you won't see it from the points and you won't see it from the shooting efficiency. But when you look at that rebounds, 16 rebounds, I did not think that this was going to be who Jackson Kohler was. I didn't think that Jackson Kohler was going to be this rebounding machine. And I don't think that that's what he is going to epitomize his career as. But at least right now, he is switching to another level toward the end of these games and just going all out, blitz crazy, getting rebounds. Now, in the second half, he had 7 rebounds. In the first half, he had 9 rebounds. So it wasn't like it was any portion of the game that he just kind of went crazy on, like first half, second half. But just really throughout the game, Jackson Kohler was just a man possessed going after every single ball that went up. And I think for Michigan State fans, this is something that you didn't know you needed, but since you have it, you're like, yes, please, give me more of this. Give me more of Jackson Kohler being a man-possessed, going after the ball with every single dude as soon as it goes up there. This is the Michigan State team similar to Illinois. This is one of the best versions of this Michigan State team. Tom Izzo said it himself in his post game. I've been saying it for, I don't know, a week or 2 now, 2 or 3 weeks now. When you are a Michigan State team who gets out and runs like you do, in addition to shooting nearly 40% from 3, now this game they only shot 33% from 3, but still, being able to shoot nearly 40% from 3 like this, it's just spectacular. It's spectacular, and it makes Michigan State a Final Four caliber team. I never say national championship caliber because I think once you get to the Final Four, it kind of is what it is. Like if you're a Final Four caliber team, you're a national championship caliber team to me. So I never go that far. I've had some people ask, why do I only say Final Four caliber? Because I think anybody that's a Final Four caliber team is a national championship contender team. That's just in my mind. But for Michigan State, if you can continue to shoot like this, now 9 for 27, right? This isn't some spectacular 50% shooting from three in this game, but you're shooting well enough from three. You're getting Jaden Akins going 4 for 9. You're getting Jace Richardson going 3 for 6. This has been, kind of Michigan State's problem, right? Is they had some guys who could shoot. Jeremy Fears, chief among them. They had some guys who could shoot, but they weren't shooting enough to give them those consistent, efficient points. Now with Jace Richardson becoming the alpha, which I also said ever since that game where Jeremy Fears Jr. was out, forget which game that was, and Jace Richardson played in his place. I said, if Jace Richardson is your alpha on this team, you're going to win a lot of games. You are going to be a team that can make it to the Final Four if he is your alpha and he continues to operate that way. Now, he's just a freshman. He's going to go up against some really, really good players in the tournament who are really going to test him as a freshman. Not that he's not going up against them now. Wisconsin has some really good players too. But let's be honest. Wisconsin, not the, huge defensive team that is going to shut down Jace Richardson to an unbelievable level, right? That is not what this Wisconsin team is. This Wisconsin team is a team that is going to be able to contend with Michigan State with how fast they're going to score. They're going to be able to contend with getting back on defense, which they did do a good job of in this game. Michigan State did have 20 fast break points, but I felt like when on offense, Wisconsin, for the most part, other than a few lapses, which Michigan State took advantage of, for the most part, they did do a good job of getting back on defense. It was just Michigan State continued to get back or to get on offense and put up good shots and, make the shots. Like, I don't know what else you want me to do. Like, it's possible for you to play good defense and for the other teams to still make good shots. It is what it is. Sometimes that's just the way that things happen. And that's kind of what happened in this one. Now, the other piece of this is Michigan State closes out another game in just incredible fashion. Michigan State's not been up in halftime in a lot of these close, not close, end of game situations, right? They've not always been winning at halftime. But what they do is the last 4 minutes of the game, they are just shutting their opponents down. In this game, to end the game, Wisconsin was one of their last 7 to end the game. I mean, that is just shutting your opponent down. I don't know what it is exactly they're doing on defense in these late game situations. I don't know if Tom Izzo is just going so deep, right? I mean, he's not playing anyone over 30 minutes right now. Jaden Akins got the most minutes on this team, and he played 30 even. Nobody's playing over 30 minutes. Xavier Booker only got 5 minutes in this one, but everybody else was double-digit minutes or more. I mean, it was Xavier Booker 5, Cohen Carr 13, and Zapala, who he actually was playing more, and this one 17 minutes for him. So as far as I'm concerned, Michigan State being able to get into this rhythm, being able to pick up where other guys weren't as good. Trey Holloman 0 for 6 shooting from 3 in this game. For Jace Richardson to be your alpha. For Jaden Akins to be able to take the ball and go in this game. I keep saying Jace Richardson is the alpha. Jaden Akins was the alpha in this one. 19 points overall for him. This is just, for Michigan State, this is what you want to see time in and time out. In the late game, shutting down of their opponent is huge. It's critical. It's a big part with why Michigan State is able to win these games. Not that they're putting together a game where they're beating this other team by 10 points the entire game. No, it's because late in the game, they just have incredible defense, and they're going straight at them and doing a great job. All right, let me get to some of you guys' comments now. John says, Michigan State kept letting Tanji take tough jump shots, and he wasn't making them. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing with Wisconsin this season is when Tanji's not been as good, you've had generally John Blackwell step up and be that guy. Well, John Blackwell went 1 for 7 from 3 in this one. John Tanji went 1 for 8. So not only, it's possible to shut John Tanji down. Teams have done it, right? I think it was USC did it. If USC can do it, just about anybody else can do it. And that's no shot at you, USC. It's just who you are right now. Who you are this season. Eric Musselman might change that, but who you are this season. If USC can shut down your star player, just about anybody can shut down your star player. It's possible to shut John Tonchi down. And don't get me wrong, he's still first team All Big Ten in my mind. But what not every team has been able to do is also shut down John Blackwell. Now, John Blackwell still got his. He still had 19 points in this game, but he was 8 for 20 from the field and 1 for 7 from three-point line. And he played 37 minutes in this game. You're getting 19 from John Blackwell, who played 37 minutes, compared to 19 from Jaden Akins, who played 30 minutes. Like, there are efficiency levels here that are not equal, right? And that is exactly what Michigan State is hanging their hat on right now. Efficient, smart gameplay. It's excellent to see. And you're right, Philip. Wisconsin was extremely cold shooting today. I do think part of that was Michigan State. Was Michigan State's atmosphere, right? They were at home. But I also just felt like Michigan State had some pretty good perimeter defense, off-ball defense as well. I mean, these shots that Wisconsin was getting, they weren't wide open shots. The guys were spaced out onto the perimeter, and Wisconsin, well, maybe it was Carson Cooper more than Wisconsin themselves, just played excellent defense down low as well. So when you're getting guys spaced out around the perimeter and you're able to stay solid with those guys, but you still have a good enough down low presence to be able to play defense, I don't put that on Stephen Crowell as much as I put that on Michigan State just doing a great job playing defense. I mean, Stephen Crowell was 4 for 9, 1 for 3 in this game. Those aren't great numbers. They're not bad numbers, right? 4 for 9. You know, you'd like to see maybe 1 or 2 more baskets there. But I think that's just more of a cause of good defense by Michigan State. Zapala, Carson Cooper being able to do what they do. Carson Cooper has been huge for this team. He has found a way. He's not the most offensively polished player in the world, right? He's not Drake Offenren by any means. But what he can do is he can go up, get the alley-oops, throw him down. He can be a piece that he's enough of a piece that defenses have to pay attention to. Last year, I didn't feel like he was that. Last year, I felt like it was kind of like, oh, Carson Cooper's out there. All right, let's keep him in our, eye range. But for the most part, let's not really worry about him too much. Carson Cooper tonight had 8 points. 8 points. And he only had 4 rebounds, but still, Jackson Kohler had 16. So, what are you going to do? But as far as I'm concerned, if Carson Cooper can just be a piece of the offense to score, not saying he's your second option, not saying your third option, he's not even your fourth option, in my opinion. Your fourth option is probably Fiddler. Option number 1 is probably Jace, then Akins, Holloman, Kohler, or Fiddler is probably your fourth option. But for them, like, being able to do that, fantastic. Wisconsin, yes, they were cold. I agree with you, Philip. They were cold, but I also I want to give credit to Michigan State as well. I felt like Michigan State did a good job on the perimeter playing defense, and it was really, really good. So, yeah, and I agree with you, Philip. He says, I really thought Wisconsin would get Michigan State. I did not foresee Wisconsin going cold at the end of the game, 1 for 7, like the other teams had. Illinois, as much as I like Illinois, Illinois teams under Brad Underwood have done that, where they've just had long stretches where they don't score. Not going to bring up any moments or anything like that. Michigan, we've seen that happen this season, right? Michigan did that a time or two. Who was the other team that they had? Again, this is the part where I wish I had a co-host. Maryland, Maryland, it wasn't anything spectacular down the road, but they were still able to hold Maryland off well enough that Trey Holloman was able to hit that buzzer beater there at the end. Purdue was another one that they were able to hold them at the end of the game. They did a great job there. I did not think Wisconsin was going to be the team that they were going to do that against, but they did. And I think it just speaks to Tom Izzo. I think it speaks to his guys who've been together this long. This team, like this, not exactly, but from a roster, construction standpoint, this team reminds me a little bit of Purdue last year, right? You got the guys that have been there for a while, who are bought in, who are doing a great job. And then you got that one last piece where he's not the biggest piece in the world, but he adds something to your team, and that's Frankie Fiddler, right? That was Lance Jones for Purdue. Lance Jones played, a bigger role on Purdue than Frankie Fiddler is paying for Michigan State. But you're getting, and obviously Purdue had Zach Edey. Don't, don't that part of the comparison. What I'm saying here is the roster construction standpoint. Tom Izzo rode with his dudes. He let them develop. He let them get better. And he brought in one piece that he felt like would be a good piece for this team that would help them in the long run. And that's Frankie Fiddler. And I commend Tom Izzo for it. Tom Izzo, one of the best to ever do it, not just in the Big Ten, but in all of college basketball history. Could he get another national title this year? I'll say this. The Final Four good team. This Michigan State team, when they are putting it all together, when they are shooting nearly 40% from three-point range, when that is not what I said, Phillips. JR says Carson Cooper is Zach Edey. Not what I said. I mean, he is really good defensively, but no, he is not Zach Edey. He's not a two-time national player of the year player. That's not what he is. Somebody to tweet that, and I'm going to lose all my listeners. But yeah, so I think that's what I got for you guys. If there's any other games, I got to go meet Zach really fast. We're going to go live on the football show in about 10 minutes. John, as far as Indiana with Washington, all I got to say, Indiana accomplished what Ohio State wasn't able to do against Northwestern and what Nebraska wasn't able to do against Minnesota. They won the game they should have won. And that's why Indiana is such a good position right now to make the NCAA tournament. Absolutely. They got to beat one of Oregon or Ohio State. I think they can beat both of those teams. All they have to do is beat one of them. We'll see. That's the other thing I wanted to get to. What is it about this Indiana team? I have notes on this. What is it about this Indiana team that is making them different from when Mike Woodson. I'm going to do a video on this. So I'm going to tease it a little bit right now, and then I'll do a video on it later on. Indiana has been different since Mike Woodson, said he was going to step down and all this stuff. Indiana's been different. And I was thinking about it, and I kind of looked up some stats, figured some stuff out. For me, the biggest thing, Mike Woodson just has these guys playing at a slower pace. He's having these guys slow down, play more methodically, play at a better rate on defense, and he's also figured out that Oumar Ballo and Malik Reneau don't go together well on the floor. Like, Malik Reneau getting injured, obviously that sucked. I'm never rooting for a player to get injured. But Malik Reneau getting injured helped Mike Woodson and this team figure out that, we don't have to play Oumar Ballo 30-plus minutes a game because we just have to play Oumar Ballo when Malik Reneau isn't in there. And we can play Malik Reneau when Oumar Ballo isn't in there. And it's really been a huge piece for this team. And the other piece is Anthony Leal. He's got to get votes for Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, what he is able to do on the defensive end, hounding guys, annoying guys, doing a great job, pestering guys, it's phenomenal what Anthony Leal is doing right now on the defensive end of the court. And it's not like he's not doing well offensively as well. He's a good piece for them offensively. He's kind of like Carson Cooper a little bit, but from a guard standpoint, so it's different, where he's enough offensively for you to have to take him seriously, but he's not your first, second, third, fourth option, right? But he's enough to be he's Tony Allen, right? In the NBA. Now, I'm not a big NBA guy, so somebody could say, JR, you're wrong. But I don't think I am. I think he's Tony Allen in the NBA. Excellent defender, does a great job hustle, does a great job, playing for his team, being unselfish. At the end of the day, he's not a huge threat offensively, hardly a threat offensively, but he's an offensive enough threat. And that's really where Tony Allen's game just kind of dipped completely. In his older age, he really was nothing on offense. Still a good defender, was still smart, still did a good job. But he was just such a liability on offense. You couldn't do anything with him. That's what Anthony Leal has to avoid. If Anthony Leal can continue to be a piece, not an option, not somebody they rely on, but a piece for them on offense, he's gonna keep doing good. So, Philip says, almost feel bad for Leal. He couldn't get playing time for years because of NIL and other things. Now, He's vital. Listen, this is the part of Mike Woodson that I think would have made him a great coach. Not a great coach, a good coach at the very least at Indiana. If he didn't have to deal with all this NIL stuff, if you would have got Mike Woodson when you got Archie Miller, I think things would be much, much different for Indiana. I think that the fans would trust Mike Woodson more. I think that Mike Woodson would have more freedom to do kind of what he wants. Um, and I think you would get more results like this, where you have a guy who maybe didn't play under the previous regime, but Mike Woodson just loves him. And that's really what's going on right now. More than anything, Mike Woodson doesn't care about the politics. Mike Woodson doesn't care about the minutes. Mike Woodson doesn't care about anything but winning ball games. And if Mike Woodson can just care about winning ball games, it's going to be a damn good team with Mike Woodson as your head coach. There's a reason why he's 50% against Purdue, with teams where Purdue was the substantially better team in a lot of occasions, because Mike Woodson against Purdue in those games, he just throws guys out there the way he knew best, and he wouldn't care about the politics as much, and it's a huge piece for him. So, John says we're all critical of Woody, but he may go 3-4 in the NCAA tournament appearances, which is crazy to think about. Yeah, I mean, literally, my brother-in-law the other day was like, "Should we keep Mike Woodson?" And I was like, "I don't think that's an option anymore." I don't think it's a bad idea that Woodson is moving on. I think the only bad idea was for the fans to treat him the way they did moving on, because he is such he was such a great player for Indiana, and that's like that's what we saw with Juwan Howard at Michigan, right? Great player for Michigan. He left his head coach, and people don't think about Juwan Howard's playing career anymore. People think about how terrible of a head coach Juwan Howard was. Did some good things at the beginning, but he also was playing with John Beilein's guys and a little bit more of a culture. So you look at that a little bit. It's not everything, but you look at that a little bit. Mike Woodson, I think him getting to the NCAA tournament would be really, really cool, for his legacy, for remembering him and everything else. I think at the end of the day, the way I'll remember Mike Woodson, I talk about a guy like he's dying. He's not dying. Just as a head coach for Indiana, if this is the end, which I think it surely is, the way I remember it is Mike Woodson would have killed it before NIL. Now, it's NIL. It sucks. I mean, it doesn't suck that players are getting paid. In Mike Woodson's case, it kind of sucks because it would have been cool. No, not RIP, Philip. I know I'm talking like that. I got to get out of here. I got to go football show to go do with Zach. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Appreciate it. Come listen to me and Zach over on the football show. I'm going to try to do a Big Ten After Dark tomorrow night before the Northwestern UCLA game. If Jason can be there, I'll do it. If not, I might just do my research and put out a video of bracketology late tomorrow night. But anyway, we'll see you guys. Have a good one. See you over at the football channel.